What else about this generation, the millennials? I call this generation also, if we're looking at their openness and diversity, their family affair, their motivational issues, I also am looking at them in the new workplace. The new workplace. I've already gotten requests to go to corporations and others who are looking at hiring more and more of this younger generation. Many of this generation have already entered the workforce, and there have been about 5 different books by themselves written on the millennials entering into the workforce. I think it's kind of fun for those of us who are Christians and brothers and sisters in Christ to see what's motivating them and to go into the workforce. Let me put this in the form of an illustration. The place where I work has around 5,000 employees. I don't get to know all of the employees of Lifeway. Every now and then I will get some of them together and just say, come talk to me. And I ask for some millennial employees in a certain department in the company where I work that I lead to come and share with me. There were about, I'd say, 15 to 20 of these millennials that came into a conference room, and I just started picking their brains. Started asking them what they're looking for in their work, what type of issues are important to them in their workplace. And it pretty much came out just like the study that we just did. Number one issue was work-life balance. Work-life balance. Predecessor generations, Gen X to a lesser extent, but the boomers even to a greater extent, were moving ahead. This one was work-life balance. I did a little experiment. I asked them to write on a sheet of paper so there would not be groupthink going on, but individual think. I said, write on a sheet of paper. If I were to decree right now as the president of Lifeway that you could have one of these two things, a 10% raise or an extra week vacation, what would you choose? Well, you would think that it would be money because they're motivated by money. They said they want to go in the workforce. But here again is some of the confusion that's taking place as they respond. 100% of them, and again, there's only 12 to 15 in the room, so it wasn't a statistically valid sample, but 100% of them in that room said that they wanted a week's vacation. They wanted extra time off. They would rather spend, and this goes back to what's more important to them, family and friends. They are motivated by money, but then their greater motivation outside of the workforce is family and friends. And so I decreed to them that they could now, according to policy, have 1 week a year vacation. And when they reminded me that the minimum was 2 weeks, I said, look how generous I've already become at Lifeway. You now have double what you have asked for. The new workplace. 40% have already told us that they wanted a mentor. Or, I'm sorry, that they have a mentor. 70% of this generation, particularly in the workforce, want a mentor. Right now, in this high unemployment world that we're living in, where core unemployment is about 9.5%, but where when you add the underemployment numbers to it, you get about 17.5%. In this high unemployment world that we're looking at, companies these days are not thinking that much about retention. They're basically saying people are staying put because it's hard to find a job, and they're not going to leave unless they're absolutely certain that they can find a job, and there are not many other jobs in abundance. And so many companies today are not thinking that much about retention. But even though this has been one of the most prolonged down cycles in the history of our nation, especially since the Great Depression, companies that are thinking that way are truly going to mess up. Because at some point the economy is going to rebound, employment numbers are going to get better, and these employees who have not thought through some of these issues, especially for these millennial generation members who are highly motivated, highly creative, if they are not holding on to them and providing them the workplace, they will go elsewhere. 75% indicated they wanted a mentor. They don't want to simply be thrown into the workplace. They want someone to guide them, someone that they can look to for wisdom, someone they can look to for greater experience, someone that they say will help enrich their lives in the workforce.